Hey guys, welcome back to my sewing channel. Today I'm going to show you a quick tutorial about how to make my sewing pattern, the Key Fob Wallet. It is this cutesy little guy. It has the coin pouch along the back. This can double as a key fob, as you can clip your keys to it and then clip it all onto the wallet. And then it opens up to have two card slots here. This is good for folded cash and then an ID slot. A lot of people think that this wallet is really tiny, which overall, like in size, it is a small wallet, but you can fit quite a lot of things in it. As you can see, it's got a lot of girth here, so each card slot is measured a little bit wider to accommodate more than one card, so don't be nervous about that. But yeah, anyways, you'll see it comes together really quick, super cute, a lot of fun, and I hope that you enjoy. So we have all of our supplies gathered here, and they're already cut as per outlined in the paper, or in the pattern. So I have my two card slots here, and you'll see that I already have my brand ready on my card slot. I have my zipper coin pouch. This is my main panel, my wristlet strap zipper that I'm going to cut down to size, and then my hardware. I have my two zipper tabs and then my D-ring attachment. And then I have my vinyl piece here for the window, and I have one snap tab, which when I cut out my ID area here, I'm going to use that second spot, or that second cutout for my second snap tab. So to get started, we are going to start at step 2, because step 1 is getting everything prepped. So step 2, we need to cut out our ID window, and in the pattern it has this ID window laid out, so you can use that. I know it by heart, so I'm just going to cut it out here. Usually when I cut with my rotary cutter, I have to snip just the corners. And I need to get my scissors sharpened, of course. And before I glue in my ID window, I'm going to burn the inside of the cork just to seal any little frays or edges here. I'm going to use my Beacon Fabri-Tac and apply it around all of the corners, or all the edges here. And then I have to find my vinyl. Where'd that little piece go? Here it is. And then lay it in. Wipe away the glue from the front side showing. And then while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and snip my corners. So I'm going to pop over to the machine and I'm going to top stitch this around. So we're still in step 2, and now I'm just going to top stitch all around my vinyl ID window, and I'm going to do that from the top side here. And I have my Teflon foot in about a 3.5 stitch length, and I'm stitching just 1/8 of an inch from the sides. snip my threads there. And then step 3 is the top stitch detailing, where you top stitch around just the tops of the card slots and then around the top of this ID edge, which I'm going to go ahead and do. This is an optional step though, you can skip this if you want to. And I'm going to chain stitch these. Snip all these corners, or these threads rather. And then step 4 is that you create the card slot. So you're going to get your main body panel, which we already have, and our 2 card slots, which we already have. And then what we're going to do is you lay with the ID slot on the right hand side. And then using the marks in the pattern, you lay your first card slot on top of the main body panel. And we're just going to stitch that just along the bottom edge into place here. And then for the second one, I'm going to grab a couple clips. And really, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this corner edge because all of my edges are always beveled. So I'm going to snip that before I sew it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this into place, lining up the right sides of the card slots and then the bottom. I'm not super worried about the left side because I will trim that down later on. And then you just sew down just the right side. Oh, my card slot is not very lined up here. There we go. Just down the right side of the card slots. And then I'm going to trim my threads. And then now you'll see that this is still open, and so we're going to stitch just up the right side here. And so I'm going to clip it, making sure that the bottom edges are nice and flush. And I'm going to start at the bottom edge bevel, and so just up this outer edge now. And trim all your threadies. And then this is what we have so far. So I'm trying a new filming method, trying to get a little bit closer to the machine for you guys so you can see what I'm doing. So be sure to let me know in the comments if you like this angle better. So back at the cutting table, what I'm going to do now is trim down this side that we just sewed all of the card pockets to. I'm going to trim a little bevel here, and then I'm going to line up my ruler on the edge and cut it so that all of my edges are nice and flush now. You can see all nice and flush. But so right now we have the card slots are open, but the bottom is still open as well, which we will sew that down later. So, just trying to stick to the pattern. Now we are on step 5, so we're going to create our magnetic snap tab. And so normally if you cut it out using the pattern pieces, it would already have the bevels, which I do just by sight. I'll do that now. And then what I'm going to do is eyeball where I want my magnetic snap to lay. And you're going to take your male portion snap tab or snap and go ahead and set it in. And then on this type of tab, when there's magnetic snap, a lot of times with a lot of wear, it'll start to show through. So I always like to put some interfacing behind it. So I'm just going to cut a scrap off here. There we go. And then I'm going to glue that into place here. And then what I'm going to do is glue this entire piece to the piece that we cut out of the ID window here. You'll see that it's a little bit longer, but that's fine because we'll just trim that down. And then while that glue sets, I'm going to skip ahead to step 6 because when I'm back over at the machine, we can do all the sewing at once. So I'm going to let that dry, and then right now I'm going to create the wrist strap. You just do that by folding this piece into thirds and clipping as you go. Or you can use double stick tape if you like it. My needle gets a little gummed up when I use double stick tape, so I tend to use bobby pins, which I find are incredible when it comes to making straps. So I've got that ready to go. And then also in step 6, it tells you to create the D-ring attachment. So I'm going to go ahead and I have my little D-ring piece here. Put some glue on it. Slide my D-ring on. Center it and then clip it so that it can dry. Alright, so I'm going to pop back over to the machine now that this glue is set, and I'm going to top stitch around my snap and then around my wrist strap. And so just like in the pattern, I'm stitching just very closely to the edge here, 1/8 or a little under 1/8 of an inch. And I'm realigning it as I go. If I see, excuse me, any slipping, I'm just making sure to line up all the edges before I stitch them. Trim the threads and Here we go. All right, so now that I've got this all top stitched, what I'm going to do is cut off all of this excess here. I'm just going to use it with my rotary cutter, holding it as straight up as possible so that I don't get any angles with the cork, which will cause issues later on if you're trying to use leather edge paint and your edges are topsy-turvy. It doesn't really look nice, in my opinion. Whoa. So I'm going to just quickly burn those edges. And then I find that it's easier to glue or edge paint this piece before moving on, just because once it's all attached, it just makes it a little bit harder. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Towel, wipe off this excess glue here. There, now that will have time to dry before we attach it. And then so, still in step 6, it tells you to go ahead and to complete the wrist strap here. So what I'm going to do is I have my lobster clasp, and I'm going to pull this cat hair out that got sewn in. But what I'm going to do is slide it onto the edge. See, this is the edge that I started sewing on, so it's a little bit messy with the threads and yada yada. So I always slide onto the edge where I hooked around, and there's no thread ends. So I'm going to slide it up. I lay this excess to meet with the lobster clasp, and then that's what I will rivet first, which I forgot to do. Cut my little edges here like I always do. Alright, so slide that back there. You can see that this extra long piece, it butts right up against that wristlet clasp. So that way it doesn't move around and shift whenever you're using it. And so I am just going to eyeball, my friend used this the other day. Sorry about that. I have to change my whole setting, the size. But so I'm going to get it all back to where I need it to be. I'm going to make sure that everything is flush on all of the sides. Hold it carefully and then punch a hole right in the middle. I'm going to grab a rivet. Rivet that down. And now the wrist strap is all done and ready to go, which we will attach at the very end. Okay, so now step 7, create zipper coin pocket. So you need your coin pocket and then your zipper tabs, and then of course your zipper. So I like to burn all of the edges first. And then you'll notice that I already have my corners beveled here. So what we're going to do is I'm using a really long zipper, and we need it to be 4 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is glue my zipper tabs down onto my zipper to make it 4 inches wide. So I'm going to put some glue just on one side here. You can just glue wherever for the first one. And then for the second one, you need to unzip. Then I like to take a clip and clip my 2 zipper tails together. And then I line up the outside edge of my zipper tab to where it's going to be 4 inches wide. I'm going to put some glue on this side. And then I kind of pinch my zipper back together when I do this side, because with it being unzipped, it likes to gap, and I don't want it to be gapped whenever I sew it together. So I'll turn it so that you can see what I mean. But so on either side of the outside of my zip tab ends, now I have a 4-inch zipper, which I'm going to cut the tails off, obviously. So I'm going to let that set up for just a second, and then I'm going to move over to the machine. When I go to the machine, I'm going to top stitch these down, and then I'm going to trim my zipper, and I'm just going to, from over there, I'm going to lay my coin pouch on top, just so I don't have to keep going back and forth. All right, so I'm going to zip, or I'm going to glue or tape, what am I trying to say? I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch on the inside seam here on the zipper tabs. And I like to do a lot of back stitching here, so usually with every forward stitch I back stitch, just because this zipper is going to see a lot of action. Alright, so I'm going to trim my threads. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull back that zipper tab and I'm going to trim. I'm still going to leave a decent amount of zipper in there, but I'm going to trim my zipper down so that it is not in the way, because I don't want to sew over the zipper whenever I'm sewing the wallet together at the very end, but I want to leave enough to where the zipper is not going to come loose with use of the zipper and putting coins in and out and all that jazz. Well, here I'm gonna put some glue on this top edge of the coin pouch here, and I'm just gonna lay it right on top. And I wrote the pattern so that the zipper head is on the left side, but if this wallet is for you and you're a lefty or however you want it to be, you can glue the zipper coin pouch to where the zipper head's on the left or the right. Totally up to you. Let that set up for just a second here. And now I'm just going to sew across. You're going to have to move your zipper head out of the way. Just make sure that you're holding this side, the unsewn side, as you do that. Otherwise, you'll get some shifting. All right, so trim threads. And then there we've got the completed zipper coin pouch. All right, now here comes the fun step. So we are going to lay out our main body panel with our card slots on the left. And on the wrong side of the snap tab, I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here. Wipe some of that away. And then you're going to use the measurement that it tells you in the pattern and glue your snap tab down. You want to make sure that this is nice and set up before you move on to the next step. Otherwise this will move and it'll not be centered, and that's not what we want. Okay. So now that that's set up, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue across just the top of the zipper panel here. And then you're going to glue this right side down on top on that same exact line that you glued the magnetic snap to create a sandwich. instead of a zipper sandwich, it's going to be a magnetic snap sandwich. So usually I put a couple of clips here just to hold it in place while the glue sets up. And what you want to see is this sandwich. So you have the main body panel, and then you have the snap tab in there, and then the zipper laying right on top, and you want it all to be flush. Oh, I guess I should show you. Want it all to be flush, one flush line. And so once you allow everything to dry completely, we are going to be doing step 9, which is sew the coin pocket and the snap tab to the main body panel. And in the pattern, this is diagram 9A that you'll see, but what I'm going to do is just stitch right along this edge here at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to unclip. You want to be sure to back stitch well over your snap tab. And then what I like to do is when I get to the zipper head that you have to move out of the way, lift your foot all the way up and wrestle it. Oh gosh. I'm not going to be able to wrestle it, so I'm going to lift my needle totally. And I'm going to unzip it and then just go straight back to where that stitch line was. And then I'm going to finish stitching all the way across. Alright, so now we're going to snip those threads there. Whoa, it's not that thread. I'm going to close my zipper. And then diagram 9B shows that you take your zipper sandwich and you're going to flip just the zipper up and over. And you want to line up your right and left side edges here and clip it into place. I'm going to wind up some of this excess thread that I just accidentally pulled out like a wild woman. There we go. And so now what I'm going to do is stitch just across the bottom here, the bottom bevel across and back up. Again, leaving the sides open. Trim threads. And so now you'll see we have the zipper compartment, and then here's the snap tab, and then the card slots. All right, so now what we have is this flat lay design, card slots, magnetic snap, zipper panel, open, and then ID slot. And so for step 10, we need to install the female portion of our snap tab. And so you can use the pattern piece and make the mark and go ahead and install it that way. I am just going to fold mine down and then eyeball it like I always do. The only reason I can eyeball it and get away with it is because I've made a bajillion of these. So you use your pattern piece. I'm going to install that. And then if you want to, you can add a piece of interfacing here. But I don't, because there's going to be a big piece of cork laid right here, and I just use that as my reinforcement. So there we go. Now we've got our female portion. So step 11 is we glue this inner body piece to the main panel piece. So I'm going to apply a bunch of glue. Flip this bad boy over. And glue it in. And again, all of the exact numbers are in the pattern, so go ahead and pick that up to get those measurements. Trim these threads. While I've got this going, I need to install my D-ring attachment. which the way that I just eyeball it is I fold it closed and just slide it into where I want it. But so you want to make sure that it's underneath this, what do you call it? The inner body piece. Sorry, having kind of an off day today, so I apologize. My words are not here today. Neither is my mind. Totally. All right, so then step 12, you fold over your card slots to meet up with the rest of the body, and you fold over your ID slot to meet up with the rest of the body. Clip into place. And we're getting very, very close. All right, so step 13 is to complete the wallet. And to do that, we are just gonna sew along the top and the bottom raw edges here. And I'm gonna start at this top right edge. Whoa. So this you wanna be a little careful of because your magnetic snap will stick to your magnetic plate here. So just be aware of that. So I'm gonna use 1/8 inch. And then, as always, I like to add a couple back stitches on those stress corners where you'll be lifting and pulling things out of a lot of the time. And then when we get up here to the D-ring attachment, this is going to be going through a lot of different levels. So go slow, take your time, and if you need to, hand crank. Have to hand crank mine. It's being a pain today. And it's skipping stitches like crazy. So, oh, no wonder. I'm out of bobbin thread. I lost. Be right back. I have to redo my bobbin. Okay, I'm back. I redid my bobbin. So let's try this again. I like to put some back stitches in on my D-ring attachment. Again, just anywhere that there's going to be a lot of push and pull or in and out or just, I mean, obviously the D-ring attachment is going to be bearing the brunt of the weight of everything that's in the wallet. So I back stitched well there. So you can see I just stitched all the way across the top. And now I'm just going to flip with my card slots. And I'm going to stitch this way. And actually, I'm going to go against my pattern here. It does say to start with the card slots face up, but I have found that my machine in particular just doesn't like to start low and then build up from the bottom. So I find that I have more control over the stitches if I stitch from the top. So at this point, I have the outside of the wallet up. And you can kind of feel the notch where the ID pocket ends. And so I'm going to add back stitches right there. And then same thing, when I'm coming onto my card slots over here, I can feel where they're at. And so I'm going to add the stay stitches. And this is where I'm going to go slow. Trim my threads. All right, so at this point we have the wallet done, but because I am a very particular person, I like to go back and just make sure that all of my seams are nice and flush. And so it's better to have a super sharp rotary cutter when you're doing this. Otherwise it'll just kind of tear the cork a little bit, like mine is doing, because I need to replace my what you call that blade. So after that, I would light all the edges just to trim any fuzziness. And then I would go back with my glue, which is Allenne's Fabric Fusion. Or you could do the Giardini edge paint, or just leave it raw if you want to. Let's see, so fold it up for the first time to kind of give it a good press. Clip it together. Ta-da! So I hope that you guys enjoyed making this Key Fob wallet with me today. Do me a favor and drop me a comment. Hit the subscribe button. It's a little round narwhal. It'll be somewhere on this video. And then also give me a thumbs up and let me know what you think. Other than that, I will link you to another fun original sewing pattern, maybe my tall wallet. Check that one out. I hope that you guys have a great day. Stay safe out there. Be kind to one another. And we're still in the mix of all of this COVID-19 mess. So I hope that whatever phase your county and state is in is doing good and staying healthy. And I hope that your numbers are plateauing and or going down. Anyways, thanks guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time.